All right, welcome back. I want to thank our four judges. They are absolutely fantastic. You only saw a portion of what they do today because we adjudicated three songs for each band. Today we talked about one, and each song gets substantial compliments and critiques from each judge. They are very, very committed to the music, as you know from their pedigree, but they were also very, very committed to this process and were an absolute pleasure to work with. I'm going to introduce them one at a time, and then after everyone is introduced, they're gonna give us their general comments of what they heard and what they think could help all of us become better musicians and better players of this music. Miss Alexa Tarantino, jazz saxophonist, reed woodwind specialist, plays all kinds of everything, a composer, educator, and also a proud alumni of essentially Ellington. Alexa's quartet has a new record, Clarity. They came out last week. I want y'all to check her out. Helen Sung, distinguished pianist, composer, arranger, member of the acclaimed Mingus Big Band. She also has some new music, Sung with Words. It's been out, it's toured around the United States and abroad. Check her out also. Dennis McCrell, the last drummer hired by Mr. Count Basie. He is an acclaimed composer, arranger, conductor, and educator. You see the commonalities we all have. People knowing about composing and arranging, and they're bringing the kind of knowledge of many different skills to the adjudication of this festival. And finally, Mr. Riley Mulherka, esteemed trumpet player, band leader. He's a passionate educator and a proud alum of the essentially Ellington program. And I always tease him because he was always winning awards and I was always messing his name up. So I practiced it over and over again. Now we're going to hear some general helpful comments from each judge, starting with Miss Alexa Tarantino.
Thanks so much, Winton. Congratulations to everyone involved in this year's festival. It's an honor to have been on the judges panel with such amazing friends, colleagues, musicians. I really enjoyed all of the performances. Just a few things that come to mind. Excellent spirit and energy throughout, and I would encourage you all to keep that in every aspect of your lives, no matter what you're doing, whether it's playing, teaching. Just having that joy and passion is so important. For my saxophonist especially, but for all, intonation was something that I noticed and that I'm a little bit of a stickler on. So I would really encourage us all to zone in and have like laser focus on that, especially because Duke had so much cross-section writing happening. So it's not just about being a great section member within your saxophone section and listening to your lead player, but it's also about listening to, oh, perhaps I'm with trumpet 3 on this line, or oh, maybe I'm playing with the bass player on this line. So knowing your role in absolutely every phrase that you have throughout the piece is so important, and being able to match very quickly and to adapt and respond quickly in the group setting is very important. So with that, I would say intonation is the first thing. And then for my woodwind doublers, great job. Thank you. Thank you. I know it's not easy, and especially some of those clarinet solos like on Rockin' and Rhythm and otherwise, it's not easy. So congratulations. Nice job. However, clarinet is also very tough to pull off in times. So make sure that whatever you're doing, you keep that intonation going strong. And in terms of scoops, I joke that I think I'm going to do a little bit of a national tour on how I like to do scoops for saxophones. I would encourage you all to really have that target pitch in mind when you're scooping. Make sure you know what you're going for and try to use it as more of a spice in your meal than as the entire thing or as like the protein of your meal. Right. And then in terms of improvisation, I loved hearing you all. Loved hearing what you had to say. For me, I just really listened for motivic and rhythmic development. So the more patient and thoughtful that you can be in presenting a small statement and letting it grow over the course of your solo, I think the deeper you'll be able to communicate with the rhythm section, with the band, and with the audience. So great job. Thank you so much.
Well, I guess.
And now I'm going to pass it to Helen. Yes, Helen.
Oh, backstage.
There she is. Okay.
Well, I echo what Alexis said. Just this is my first time involved with essentially Ellington, and what Jazz at Lincoln Center is doing obviously works. You know, that's the 25th year, and just one thing that I was so impressed by, that these are high school students who are playing serious music of the jazz repertoire and doing it really well and at a high level. So just congratulations and keep doing what you're doing. Um, if I would say anything, as somebody who came to jazz later, I had already been settled in certain things with classical musics. I'm just even more aware, I think, of what I consider to be really the uh, priorities of jazz, the swing, the language, and the communication. Um, Swing the groove, you can never swing too hard. And jazz is a lifelong journey, it never ends. And just to encourage you to always keep reaching for that next level. The late, great Mulgrew Miller said he realized swing, you just see bigger and bigger vistas, deeper. Rhythm sections, I think you all did a really good job. I think sometimes don't think about working so hard to make it happen. Swing is something that's it's bigger than all of us, and it's something that we get swept up into. So just I want to encourage you guys to just continue opening up your perspectives and listening, be a 360-degree musician, especially rhythm section. This really, you have to do it all. You have to listen to what the solo's doing, where you are on the piece, and you're the heartbeat of the band in terms of the groove. I mean, it's not an easy job, but you chose it. So, rise up to the challenge. In terms of language and improvisation, I think I was impressed with how you guys played the written solos well, but I would say you got to learn, if you're going to do that, you have to really learn those written solos. And those, when there's always little mistakes, always go to the source recording, and then you've got to know it so well that you can start adding your own stuff and changing. I think only after you really know that. I feel like you kind of knew it and you played it, but if you got to go even deeper beyond, and then you can start soloing in a way that's authentic to the piece and to what Ellington played in his own playing. It's just what he did is so distilled, just it's exactly what that moment needs. Nothing too much, nothing too little. It's a master at work. And then the social aspect, we're in a strange situation right now, but jazz really, it's a music, in my opinion, that you have to practice, of course. There's no shortcut to that. There's no magic pill, but it's learned by doing. It's learned in the doing. It's learned on the stage. So it's something I feel like in the current climate, in the way, especially even now, it's something you have to fight for, and something you have to make. That part you have to make happen. When we can start getting together safely again, playing together. I miss playing with people so much. This whole video thing is okay. It has its unique challenges too, but just playing with people, the collaboration, the communication, the beautiful social aspect of jazz is something I want us to always treasure and guard and lift up as this is the heartbeat and the love of jazz music. So thank you for letting me run on at length. And I want to give it up to the master, Dennis McCraw.
Well, thank you. Your introduction and calling me a master is gracious, but I'm completely humbled, by everything that everybody's been saying, and especially by all the bands we've been hearing today. The older you get, you really realize how little you really do know. And the thing I was surprised at was of all the bands that I heard, their grasp of the music is so much more. It goes deeper. Helen said so many great things. I'm gonna tag team on a few things she was talking about, as far as going deeper into the music. When you're a young child, the first thing you're concerned about is me and my needs. And the older you get, you start looking at what's going on around you. And hopefully by the time you get to be for a little further down the road, you see that really it's more about what's going on. It's about the big picture. One of the things that I really want to talk about in terms of what I think our job as judges, and what all of my colleagues did so well, is looking at the larger picture. And I think that's one thing that I would like to encourage all of you young people to really do more of. When we talk about concepts like balance and intonation and articulation. A lot of it, most of the bands, you guys have all pretty much got a good handle on that. But the thing I want to kind of lay on you is not so much in terms of your ability to phrase or your ability to balance, but like where you fit in the larger scheme of things. And that's kind of one of the things that we notice. Like, for example, I'll hear bands and it seems like everybody's doing a great job, but you can tell that they're not really all of that clear about what is going on around them. They sound killing. This is especially an issue to tag on what Helen's talking about as far as rhythm sections in general. A lot of times the rhythm sections, you guys are all taking care of business. I want to give a shout out to all of my drummers because you guys were all hitting it. But sometimes what I'm hearing is I hear you sound great, but for example, somebody in the band needs something. Maybe you can kind of hear that the time is getting a little wonky here and there, but at the same time, instead of just sounding good as a section or for yourself, really keep your radar up and know where you fit in the larger scheme of things, to know somebody needs a downbeat here, somebody needs a fill so that they can come in in a stronger way. In terms of even, like, for example, intonation, I know you all have great band directors. That's why you sound as good as you do. And I know that they've all been telling you this, and all of the comments that we're going to send you, Alexa was very clear about talking about your intonation. Think about not necessarily your intonation in terms of how you sound, are you in tune, but are you in tune with the people around you? Are you listening to your lead players and making sure that you're in tune with them, that intervallically you're in tune with them? And even if their pitch changes a little bit, are you still in tune with them? It doesn't do you any good to be perfectly in tune with a tuner if everybody else is kind of in a different place. It's important that you look at the larger picture and fit into what's going on and really support what's going on. I think that also, as Helen was talking about, this is like a very social music. I got to give it up. This Jazz at Lincoln Center has always been very good about, like I say, bringing everybody in and making sure that everybody gets represented. I think that if you don't take, this is my personal feeling, if you don't take anything away from the musical experience, it's the community that you create in playing in a band. It's the community that you've created in working with the other musicians. And especially, I was really getting a kick out of watching some of the comments that were going on in the live stream. And I can really see that you guys are really into this. I would really encourage that you keep that spirit, the positive spirit of trying to make sure that, like, what you're bringing is going to help somebody. I don't really, this is a terrible thing to say, I'm not all that concerned that, you play perfectly in tune or that your time is perfect. What I'm concerned is that what you do makes your band sound good. That's, to me, and that's what I really felt so good about when I listened to all the bands. So you guys are all killing as far as I'm concerned. But again, all of the components that we're talking about, my wish and my prayer to you is that you make sure that that all fits into a larger scheme of things, so that by the time you get to be further down the road as a musician, that they're not even listening to you, they're listening to how good the band sounds that you had something to do with. Now, to that, I'm going to turn it over to Riley. I would pronounce his last name, but being that most people mess up my last name, I'm very sensitive about that, so I'm not going to touch that. I'm going to let him have it. You got it, bro.
Sure. Thank you, Dennis. It's an honor for me to be here. And as someone who went through the program and knows what an experience, transformative experience it really is, I want to applaud all the students for all the love and soul that they put into these recordings. And I also I want you to know, everyone watching, how much we hear you. We really put in a lot of time into listening to these recordings on our own and together, not because we had to, but because of all that you gave us. And I wish you could have just seen the conversations that we were having about individual players. There's so many phrases of solos that I could sing back to you right now. And it's inspiring for me. And I just want you to know how much we love you and how much we hear you and what you have to say. And in terms of what I heard in all these bands, I mean, there's so much to praise. One thing that I would encourage all the bands to do, though, is to always remember the element of dance in this music. And a lot of times we think of that in terms of the rhythm section, but I'm not a rhythm section player. I'm a trumpet player. And I'm always listening to how our third trumpet, our fourth trumpet, how are our trombone section, how is each and every member of the band making this music dance and bringing it to life in that way. Now, on some songs like Cottontail, you may know what that means, but on a ballad, on a different song, it could mean something completely different. And so always thinking about the element of dance, and also, Helen was talking about how this music is social, the social element between the player and the audience. How do we want to move people through what we play, through our notes? If we have a whole note, what are we doing to that whole note? How are we moving through these notes with the same feeling and spirit to get people to move, even if it's just a note for 4 beats long? And in that vein, I also think just sound in general. Let's always remember the power of sound. Oftentimes we get so caught up thinking about language that we forget, Ben Webster, when he plays Cottontail, we all can sing with that solo. We can sing the notes and the language. But for me, it's, what about his sound when he's playing that solo? What about the way he's leaning into the notes? What about the way he's growling? That is so much a part of the music, just as much as the language is. So let's remember and pay attention to the sounds on our own as individuals within a section, and then that all comes together and becomes a band sound. And then the last thing I would say is, I was really impressed with how well-rounded the bands are. Every section, really playing at a high level. But then there were moments, when I was young, I always heard, work on your weaknesses, because then, you get to an even level. But I also want to suggest, work on your strengths as well, because there are some moments where I heard something, I said, that's gold. That's something special. That's something unique to this band. Let's exaggerate that. Let's bring that out. And then that's when you get this individual character, where this isn't just any old high school band playing at a high level. Oh, I know this is this band from this school, from this city. The more we can make this music our own, then the more actually we realize how powerful the music is, because we can all make it our own rather than all recreate whatever's on page. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Winton for some closing thoughts.
Well, that was fantastic. For me, it's moving just to hear Riley speak so definitively about the music. It ties into what Dennis was talking about. It's just that as time passes, you begin to understand things, and you see someone that you may have seen when they were 13 or 14, and you see them as adults, and it's more than pride. With what he's saying is care and attention to the music. And I certainly feel the same thing with Alexa. And I want to say that the first thing is, I was noticing on the chat how much foolishness was on it. Okay, somebody is, I don't know, George Washington, or somebody else is, somebody is Obama, and then another person was imitating me, and I love that kind of stuff. Okay, the one thing I'm gonna say, because my father passed away recently, I clowned and joked with him all the time from when I was a little boy, and he was serious. So I was always messing with him and teasing him. And the last things I joked with him actually was about contracting COVID-19. Now, you would think that's kind of maudlin, but he taught me a lesson there. Because when I was teasing him, man, my brother might have given you this. He said, what difference does that make, man? And so I kind of grew up always, I would mess with him. Anything that happened. We got in a terrible car wreck. I had some joke to tell him. And he would just say, man, you're out of your mind. You have to enter the world of this music like you're a child playing with toys. Get lost in that world. Immerse yourself in it and have a great time. There's a difference between rehearsing and playing. When you rehearse, you concentrate and you work, and you rehearse, you concentrate, and you're playing. When it's time to play, play. Don't think about anything, get into your thing and let your instincts kick in. Now, you can also rehearse playing. So you make it so that you play, you pull your horn out, and you play with the type of seriousness you're in front of people, because it's hard to have the kind of attention and innocence and the type of some word that I'm looking for that a child has. We were talking about it yesterday. It's the vulnerability that a child has. I want to hear more of that from us. I want to say just a couple of more things. One is generosity of spirit. That is what's in Duke Ellington's music. I notice sometimes on the chat, some people will start to say something mean or silly, and some other people will say, don't be stupid, or somebody would try to check them. exhibit generosity of spirit. It's easy to tease people and to mess with them, to pick on them. That's you reaching for the lowest fruit. It's much better to be accurate about something. The thing people always tell me about Duke Ellington is that Duke Ellington was a tremendous flirt. He liked teasing people, he liked flirting, but they said the thing about Duke's flirtation is it was always accurate. So it came off a certain way because he could understand and see into people. And this leads to the next thing, which is understand how to be excited about other people's playing. Think if you have the same enthusiasm about your drummers playing or another trumpet player playing, all of a sudden playing a concert is not the experience of you waiting for you to play something. And I once asked the great Sweets Edison, what did it feel like playing with Buck Clayton, great trumpet player that played with him in Count Basie's trumpet section in the 1930s, because ladies loved Buck Clayton. And they might have liked Sweets, but not like Buck. And Sweets said, man, I had the greatest time of my life. We wasn't getting paid no money. All through the Depression, I got to hear this man give me one of the greatest concerts I ever heard in my life, just when he lifted his horn up. I can still remember those notes right now, and they touched me. So be excited about something someone else plays. And I want y'all also to reach across the world and find your fellow artists and your fellow listeners, and realize that as you get older, you're gonna see them. When I saw a Tomisato band, Masaki gave me a ride on a motorcycle once to an airport. I'm afraid of motorcycles, and I'm afraid of getting on a plane. And that might have been 20 something years ago. And to see him leading his band when I knew him when he was 14 or 15, it actually made me get full. I had to pull the tears up out of my eyes. I'm gonna conclude what I'm saying by talking about the level I want y'all to get on. When we first started, the level was so much lower than it is now. What I've learned over these 25 years is that there is a collective consciousness. There was a time when one or two kids could play on chord changes. Nobody was playing clarinet. Almost nobody could play acoustic bass. Then all of a sudden we start to get 3, 4 people playing on changes. Then people playing without music. Always go deeper. Always be better. Always demand more because it's fun. When you got to do those extra, put that extra time in because you're going to look back on it. You're going to have a great time. Always show more commitment in the time you have to do this. When you sit in these rehearsals, always, because your life is serious. Play and have fun, but take your life seriously. It is the most serious thing you have. That leads me to the final thing, which is about the times we're in today. These are serious times. Because you address serious matters, don't mean you forget how to joke. But a serious matter is serious. Some things are not to be played with. I never forget, I used to joke with John Lewis all the time, the great pianist and leader of the modern jazz quartet. And 2 days before he died, I went to see him. And when you looked at him, you knew he wasn't going to survive. And he asked me a question. He said, man, how do you deal with this pressure out here? This was around 2000, 2001. I said, man, you the one with all the pressure on you. I started joking. And he looked at me like, this is not the time to joke. So you have to know when it's time to joke and when it's time not to joke. And he was right, because 2 days later, he was gone from this earth. Participate in the life of your culture. Get out here. Playing music is an action. We're not philosophizing when we pick these horns up. We are playing. And that is an action. And that action has meaning. Be a part of what's going on. If it's voting, protesting, whatever it is, you be a part of it. Don't let it pass you by. And the thing I want y'all really to concentrate on is that music is a symbolic language. Always work on your hearing and try to hear deeper and deeper into the meaning of some music. What is this music telling me? Don't rely on words to tell you. Music is the art of the invisible. It's thoughts, memories, feelings, aspirations, hopes, dreams, future projections, all music. So I'm gonna conclude by saying I'm so proud of y'all. And I cried more than a few times listening to the bands. That's always a moving experience because I can hear people struggling with things, some things working out, some things being played badly, some things being played well. All of it is important. It's all a part of one cycle. And all of us who are judging have been in every position that you all are in. I want to thank all of y'all for tuning in. I hope that everybody had a good time. Next, we're going to have the award ceremony. And if I mispronounce anybody's name, please send it to Megan, and I'm going to make sure I send you a correct one, because what Dennis said, I hate mispronouncing anybody's name. And on behalf of all of us, Alexa, Helen, Dennis, and Riley, we truly enjoyed hearing you all play. You have blessed us, and we hope that till we meet again, we hope that you all are safe and that you participate in what's going on. I want to wish a big get well soon to my compatriot, Judge Jeff the Hammer Hamilton.
Amen.
I miss him, and we all love him. Dennis, chief amongst us, Coalition of Drummers. We hope y'all enjoy the award ceremony, and thank you very much.